for the music.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Be Honest with Peter Kozodoy, the live stream show in honor of my new book coming out right now, Honest to Greatness, How Today's Greatest Leaders Use Brutal Honesty to Achieve Massive Success. Today, I have an incredible guest with me, Bill Gallagher. He comes out of the Scaling Up program, which is out of a book by Vern Harnish. I'm very familiar with that because I was in EO for many years. So, Bill, thank you for being here. Appreciate you being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me on. It's awesome.
It is a pleasure.
Yeah.
So in 3-4 minutes, give us your backstory. Who are you? What do you do? What gets you inspired?
It's a funny question, right? Those are a bit like big, weighty things. So my name's Bill Gallagher, as you introduced me. I'm like recovering entrepreneur.
Aren't we all?
Not really. I mean, I've had 4 companies of my own. I've been a partner in 2 others. I've had companies that I've crashed. I've had companies, businesses that I've taken over 500 million. So I have kind of a whole range in that across a wide range of industries. And I just kind of hit a point in my life where I decided I wanted to coach full time rather than start or move into the next business. So a little more than 7 years ago now, I became full-time growth coach for companies. And I use the scaling up framework that I had learned from Vern Harnish back in the early 2000s as part of what was then known as YEO organization and today known as the EO organization. Anyway, I used it and that seemed to be the thing that made the most sense. And I started doing that. I host a podcast on scaling up. I do scaling up coaching all over the world. I work with a whole bunch of companies. I lead workshops I develop curriculum for an accelerator program with Vern. Like I do a lot of things in that world. And it's a really fun kind of a different stage career. I don't know what inspires me. I love being useful. I love being a contribution. So I have when I have a great day, when I'm lit up about my day, there's a couple things that happen. One, like there's winning, selling. Like my wife said, God, you love getting new clients. You love selling a new program or whatever. Totally love that. Like love that kind of aspect of it. But then it leads to something where I'm working with a company and they go through stages of growth or that kind of thing. And that being a contribution has so accelerated during this pandemic time, during all that sheltering, the adaptation, the need, the demand for our work has grown so much. And I've gotten so much busier. Now I travel less, so I'm actually working with a lot more people, even more globally than I was before. It's just cool when I think about that impact. And it really helps to stop and think about that and be grateful for the opportunity to work broadly like that, because it's not a normal life.
No, it is not. Nothing about the entrepreneurial journey is normal. And I would add to that this time right now during the pandemic, what a wonderful time to get honest, about where your organization needs to go now, what changes need to be made, and so on and so forth. So, Bill, the show is, let's be honest, the book is Honest to Greatness. So let's get a little more honest. If you look back over the years and over your career, when is a time that you have had to be brutally honest with yourself? What happened? What did you do? And how did it turn out?
It's funny. You sent me your questions beforehand. I was thinking about it, and I didn't know about the show beforehand. So I'm like, am I speaking to kids? Am I speaking to entrepreneurs? Am I like, what point? I think there are many points where you have to get honest with yourself about something. The thing that kind of sprung to mind was an earlier recession. So in the aftermath of 2001, we shut down 2 of the 3 companies we had. We focused on one. I became the new CEO of that one that my wife had founded. We started running it. But we really were buying time, like going deeper into debt in that point and not managing stuff because I was still trying to learn the industry and figure something out. And I didn't really have a plan. Well, before I figured that out, the bank called the gig up and threatened to shut me down and take my house and all that. And for a long time after that, weeks, long time is relative, right? In the history of the universe. But in my history, like it was a few weeks of stressing about what was going to happen. It might have been a little over a month, where I'm sitting with this threat of my business being shut down, my house being taken away, and then all the extrapolation that I have at that, while at the same time, I'm going about my business acting like everything's cool because I'm trying to figure out what to do. And I got no answers, no easy way out. I can't come up with. Now, my wife knew what was going on, but the rest of the team, suppliers, vendors, customers, like nobody else knew. And that really ate at me for a long time. And I got to a point where all my thinking and planning was about how to survive the transition, how to restart, how to hang on to as much as I could and all that kind of thing. And the biggest thing that was driving me at that time was the first thing to get honest about. And that was that in my mind, my fear was that we lose the company, we lose the house, my wife will leave me, our marriage will fall apart, and I'll become a weekend dad. And like that was the biggest thing. And sometimes I'm really overcome with emotion as I think about that again. Not so much right now, but that really was a big fear and a driving thing. So when I was honest with my wife about that, that opened up the first thing. And she said almost immediately, I'm not going to divorce you if the company fails, we lose the house. If you handle it badly or what, you could do something else to cause that, but we'll just
Yeah.
figure something out.
Not that in and of itself. Yeah.
Right. Not that in and of itself. And that was like a huge weight, right? The first thing. And so we grappled with that. We talked about how we could move on, how we could restart. And that then started to deal with sort of the next level of like worst fear. So now, by being honest, I'd sort of have a plan for the first two big fears that I have. Mm-hmm. And then from there, really what there was to do was to go to address the team. So what my wife's name's Lori. And what Lori said to me at that time, is that what you really want? Is what you want to move on? Or, what's the example? What do you want to say about this looking back at it? And
she's a good coach.
She's a good coach, right? She's outstanding. I thought about my kids. And I thought about the lesson. Now, they were really young at this point, right? My daughter would have been like 2 years old. So, but I know that deep, there's a life lesson in every experience, and that imprints in some way. And I'm like, I want to teach them to fight. I want to show an example of not giving up, of not surrendering. Mm-hmm. So I went to my team and I'm like, okay, guys, here's the deal. This thing's happened. I've been holding this inside for a while. Maybe I seem off to you. I don't know what it's been like. I'm sorry for all that. Here's what's going on. We're in this situation. I don't have a plan, but I have two things I'm going to tell you right now. One is I'm not going to quit. I'm going to fight to the end till the sheriff locks the door, and I'm going to be really honest with you. And I could really use your help. And I want you to know that I welcome it. Please stay if you can. If you can't, I understand. You've got your families to worry about and all that kind of thing. Do what you need to do. Nobody left. And over the next year, we handled together the things that I couldn't figure out on my own. And we doubled the business over the next year and got out of the issues with the bank and settled all that and changed our business model. And all that kind of stuff grew out of that moment of like honesty, right? That began peeling back the layers of pretending.
I love so much of that, Bill. And I talk about this stuff on all these shows and podcasts and in my webinars and conferences. And there are a couple of things I want to pluck out of that. One is we need to be honest, not only with people around us, but about people around us. And to be honest, we don't know what other people are thinking and feeling, right? I mean, here you were thinking, well, I think my wife's going to maybe even leave me over this. And she's thinking, gosh, I mean, Bill could do a lot more and I wouldn't leave him, right? I mean, how
Yeah.
amazing is that? But unless you're willing to be honest, you don't know that. And then
Right.
you used a technique that a ton of the leaders in my book use, which is be honest and point to the honesty. Hey, team, we're all going to come together. I'm going to apologize for, like, listen, I sucked. I suck. I need to be better. I need to be better for you. I need to be honest with you. I trust you with it. Here's what we're going to do now, and I need your help.
Right.
So
Right.
powerful.
Yeah.
All it takes is this thing we learned when we were like 4 years old, right? It's like not rocket science. So, Bill, taking a look over your career too, tell me one huge win that you're most proud of, and then maybe a biggest loss or biggest maybe regret.
Well, I was really proud of that win, how we turned that situation around and what we did. And I was really proud later in 2008-9 when we went through the next big downturn in the economy of how we navigated that period. Those both represented huge wins and gave me some of the lessons that I use today in coaching other companies, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Does honesty matter? Why does it matter in the world right now more than ever?
Well, look, our first core value for my company is courageous authenticity. And it's the power of sharing yourself and the courage it takes to actually be open and express your humanity. And I think it opens up something great for leadership. A lot of people think that, I think this is really common. Leaders need to have a plan. They need to figure it out. They need to put on the good face. And I think it's mostly BS. I think mostly people need to see strength and courage, and that inspires them, right? They want to be led to something, but they don't need to be fed a bunch of lies. They don't need to be told everything's going to turn out and problems are going to go away. You need to be like we think about if you're a fan of Churchill and you study his speaking, and you can go back and listen to the recordings of it, and it lacks some of the emotive qualities that we hear today, but the writing is really great. And he says, if we live 1,000 years, let them know that this was our finest hour. That notion of like, whatever happens, be proud of this moment, like encouraging people to deal with something firsthand. And we've seen that many times where a leader brings a vision for something, confronts the hard reality of the crap that we're in at any given moment, in any situation, any challenge, and says, this is my vision for the future. This is the muck we're in now. Let's pull together. And we see it in every realm. We see it in sports teams that rally and come from behind and inspire us. We see it in performers that deal with a breakdown. We see it in business that faces a crisis. We see it in countries where they come together. And of course, we see the opposite too. So we see the whole range of it. Yeah.
And it's not about painting the rainbows and puppy dogs future of what we want. It's like, let's be realistic about where we are now and be realistic about where we can go. And
we can paint a picture of a future where things are resolved, where we're proud of how we handled this time, and then begin to connect back the dots. Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely love that. Bill, where can people find out more about you and your work and get connected?
Well, I'm at scalingcoach.com, and they can find links to our podcasts and things like that there. We've done over 220 episodes. I do workshops every other month that are public workshops to give people a taste test. People start to come into our world there, and then I pick a few companies to work with at a time in more depth from that. So,
okay, love it. Well, listen, people, when someone like Bill, he works with companies to help them scale. Go to his website, check out his stuff, see what he's all about. Bill, thank you so much for your honesty and authenticity. And, for those of you who love this idea that honesty isn't just something we learned in preschool, that it's an actual strategy, that we can derive techniques from it to win big in our businesses and our lives, pick up a copy of Honest to Greatness, wherever books are sold. And the good thing about writing a book about honesty, as I have, is you get to read it and then be brutally honest about whether you like it or not. So I give you permission right now. All right, folks, until next time, I'm Peter Kozodoy. Thanks for being honest.